So I was looking PTSD up on YouTube and found a couple good things on it. And there's a couple videos out there that give a good explanation of it, a good rundown of what post-traumatic stress consists of. Um, and a lot of people pretty much know post-traumatic stress, okay, something bad happened that threatened your life or the life of somebody else. And from that, you can be more or less permanently altered in the way you function. Um, then there's complex PTSD, which there's not much anywhere about. It's not an official diagnosis yet, um, but it's the label for someone who, instead of experiencing a single traumatic event, has experienced long-term abuse or um, trauma. There's that word. Uh, People lumped into that category things like concentration camps, long-term sexual slavery, long-term sexual abuse, childhood abuse, spousal abuse that goes on for a long period of time. Um, there's different kinds. There's a lot of different situations that can create that. One person goes through a car wreck and they have a lot of trouble adjusting from that, and rightfully so. I absolutely don't mean to put down or ignore or invalidate anybody's experiences because that's wrong. Sorry. Um, I have a lot of friends who have been through combat. Um, God bless them all. But they're not the only ones who have post traumatic stress either. And I would hate to see the rest of the world that has it invalidated or ignored. Um, what life is like with complex PTSD, as someone who has been through various events of a couple different natures, some that are pretty unusual to be honest. Um, it's difficult. I guess that's a good way to summarize it, huh? Uh, Flashbacks happen on occasion, although at least my experience with complex PTSD, flashbacks aren't really the biggest problem I have. Dissociation, where I kind of space out, that's gotten me lost more than a few times. I'll get lost driving home, get lost driving to work, get lost driving down the street for anything, um, because I just kind of space out. I don't remember what I was thinking or why I turned where I turned or how I got to where I got. Sometimes I arrive safely at where the place I intended to go. Other times I end up miles and miles from the place that I was hoping to end up and not really sure why or what I was thinking about even a lot of the time. Um, there's nightmares which are pretty much daily. Uh, I most of the time I'm scared to go to sleep because I don't know what's going to happen that night. There's been nights I've woken up with injuries from my nightmares. There's been serious injuries. There was a knife wound on my hand one morning a couple years ago. I've ripped open scars. I've woken up with I don't know how many bloody noses and bruises that I can't explain. Woke up still in my own bed by myself, bruised up, bleeding, whatever. Um, and just the fear of what I'm going to experience when I'm asleep is so much that it's kept me up for more than a few nights. It's a fairly regular thing at this point. At least fighting myself to go to sleep, if not flat out deciding it's not worth it, especially if I have to be up early. Some nights it's easier to put the makeup on and cover the dark circles than it is to fight myself and force myself to sleep when I don't want to. It's less drama, less frustration to deal with. A lot of people don't understand it. I have a lot of trouble regulating my emotions. Um, in some ways my emotions did not grow up with me. I the way you'd see a 10, 11, 12-year-old have trouble reacting to some things and dealing with big changes, that's something I deal with. And it ruins a lot of relationships, trust me. Last minute things like wanting to go to a different place before dinner, or we need to run to the store when we're on our way somewhere and it comes up, or I'm not told about it. We pull into the parking lot and I'm going, what are you talking about? But we weren't supposed to do this. And there's times that this can put me into a full-fledged anxiety attack, having trouble breathing, my chest hurts, I'm scared, I'm crying, I'm just a complete train wreck over this little thing. And how do you explain that to somebody? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me, and I'm living it. How do you explain to somebody why you're melting down over something that's so completely small, even when you know it's that small? You just get so freaked out by this change, by this new thing that you have to handle, because everything is such a struggle on a daily basis. Work, getting out of bed in the morning, putting your clothes on, trying to find your shoes. God forbid you lose your freaking shoes. It's the littlest things are such a big deal. And you can't explain it. You can't make it go away. Most of the time, if you're lucky, yeah, okay, whew, okay, I'll get through this. This isn't the end of the world. But more often than not, it feels like the end of the world. It doesn't make sense. We know that. And the more I've looked at it, the more I've wondered if some cases of borderline personality disorder aren't mislabeled cases of complex post-traumatic stress. Because there was a point where I saw this list of symptoms and thought that maybe that was me. But the farther I get at working through the events that have injured me, the easier it is to deal with the symptoms and the issues that I deal with on a daily basis. Things that would have made me seriously question the most basic level of my sanity, knowing right from wrong, things like that, the most basic level, now I'm able to get farther. Do I still have my moments? Oh, you bet you. It gets ugly. The only way I know how to describe it, panic attacks can go from just flat out being scared out of my mind to looking a lot more like a temper tantrum. When I'm really, really scared and truly feel absolutely threatened, a lot of times it comes out violently, and I'm not proud of that. It's ended a couple relationships, not just somebody that loves me walking away because they can't handle it, but me walking away from them because it's not fair to them. And I don't want them to keep putting up with it because they don't stand up to me, because they're unable to help me get back to where I need to be. It's not ever a judgment on them. But different personalities react differently to different situations. And some people just aren't ever going to be able to deal with that situation. I refuse to stay in a relationship where there's any type of physical abuse. If I throw something at someone's head and it becomes any sort of pattern, or God forbid actually hits them, I do throw like a girl, I won't stay. I refuse to be the abuser or the abused at this point in my life. I'm sure I have excuses at the wazoo to make for my behavior, but I don't want to make excuses. I want to live. If that means living alone for the rest of my life and wondering if I'm going to make it through a whole lot of nights by myself, then that's what I need to do. It's better than wondering if I'm going to hurt somebody else. It's better than wondering if I'm going to kill somebody else. I will not do that to someone, especially not someone I love. I would rather let someone go, walk away from them, and be alone for the rest of my life than put someone in pain, at risk, any of those things, I won't do it. Life is not simple for someone with complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm about to get out of the military and go back to college. I'm about to be 27 years old. I don't know if I can make it through an 8-hour day at this point. I don't know if I can make it through a single class without falling apart. I don't know how to survive this. I don't know how I'm going to put one foot in front of the other. I don't know how I'm going to keep myself from freaking out when I get lost on campus for the first time, because it'll happen. I don't know how I'm going to react to the first time someone asks me a question I'm not comfortable answering. This is not something that's ever going to go away from me. Some forms of post-traumatic stress, some experiences, some people can move past. Some war vets, some folks with longer-term issues, some folks with more issues are not going to be able to just walk away and just let it go. It's not a matter of dwelling on the problem. It's a matter of living with the memories that come back when you don't want them to. The things that pop up into your head, the things that someone says something and it sounds awful familiar and you can't figure out why until you're in the corner crying. The feeling of constant powerlessness, of constantly feeling like you are worse than everybody else, that you are different than anybody else, that you are completely alone in the world, that nobody understands. Those things don't go away. Not forever. If you're lucky, you get some reprieve from them. They get easier. They get easier to handle. They get easier to deal with. They get easier to acknowledge and walk away from for a while. But they'll never go away. And this is something I know. People don't understand it. People don't understand why some days I'm easy to get along with, I'm funny, I'm relaxed, I'm outgoing, and other days I haven't slept in 2 or 3 days, I had nightmares when I did sleep, I don't want to speak to somebody else, I can't make eye contact with anyone. People I know and trust, I can't make eye contact with them some days. Period. No questions asked. It hurts in a way that I can't explain. These things that look so little to so many people and look so disrespectful and so out of place and so wrong and confusing to people who haven't experienced it, these are the things that we deal with every single day. On some scale, my best days, I'm proud of myself for making eye contact with someone, especially a stranger. God forbid a stranger talks to me when I'm out in public somewhere, which doesn't happen much anymore. I am ridiculously excited when I'm able to make eye contact with a stranger. Because making eye contact with someone I love hurts. So the days that I can make eye contact with somebody I don't even know, progress. Oh my God, we're not stuck in this endless loop of nothing. Life isn't easy going through this, and I'm not always sure I'll make it out alive. Most of the time, I'm not sure I'll make it out alive. I've made a lot of phone calls in the middle of the night, begging someone to be there, begging someone to answer the phone, just so for a little while someone can listen, even if they never understand. So maybe, just for a while, I don't feel completely alone. So maybe somebody might understand. This is my life. I hope this helps somebody. I hope it makes somebody feel less alone. I hope it keeps somebody out of the ICU. Those of us who have been there know exactly what I'm talking about. And I hope that it helps somebody understand what someone they love is dealing and keeps them from running away. We're never going to be easy to handle. But those good days are really, really worth it because we don't take them for granted anymore.